Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, I got some Raiders winners and losers after free agency so far. I am making this video on Tuesday, and there might be some things that end up changing, and there might be some things that, cuts, more signings. A lot of stuff can happen. But based on the free agent signings that the Raiders have made so far, at the time that I am filming this on Tuesday, coming up here, I'm going to show you the biggest winners and the biggest losers for the Silver and Black. I like to start glass half full, so let's start with the winners here. First name coming up is going to be Malcolm Koonce at the defensive end position. Basically, all the defensive ends are big-time winner here for the Raiders, but especially Malcolm, because the way that I look at this team, you're coming off a solid year with Antonio Pierce, all 8 of those sacks in the final 9 games with AP. Now you have Malcolm on one side. It's going to be Max Crosby on the other side. Then there's going to be a rotation of Christian Wilkins, Adam Butler, John Jenkins, Tyree Wilson. You mix all that, no matter who's on the field, no matter what the combination is, the person that is going to get the least amount of attention, I'm telling you, is going to be Malcolm Koonce. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He's about to have a career year. I am anticipating double-digit sack numbers for Malcolm this upcoming year, and because of that, that makes him a winner. The other reason that I have him a winner is because the depth for the defensive ends, it's not a lot. It's not very great, right? That's keeping it a buck with y'all. And if the Silver and Black do legitimately consider kicking in Tyree Wilson to be predominantly a defensive tackle type of player, that's even more opportunities for Malcolm. And with the Raiders bringing 4, Malcolm's going to get one-on-one opportunities, and I believe that Koonce is going to take advantage of those one-on-ones. Let's go to the next winner here on the Raiders Report, and it's Gardner Minshew. I believe that Minshew is a clear winner here because he has an opportunity to be the starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't view Gardner as a top 25 QB. There's not a lot of places that Minshew could have went to where he could have been a legitimate starting option. I'm not saying he is the starter. He's going to be competing with Aidan O'Connell, but in a world where, let's say that the Raiders potentially miss out on getting a QB in the draft, getting a QB that's legitimately worth contending for a spot. If you're Gardner, you got 2 years, $25 million, $15 million guaranteed, and you got to battle Aidan O'Connell to be a starting quarterback on a team that's got tons of talent around you on the offense and on the defensive side of the football. So let's have this quarterback discussion, which I know we're going to be talking about tons and tons and tons the entire offseason, so you might as well get ready. You might as well get used to it. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, which means you're about to get hit with the YouTube ad break. Let the ad play. Believe it or not, it helps out Chugs and I a lot. Scroll on down while that ad is playing and give me your honest opinion. Who is the better quarterback? Is it Gardner Minshew or is it Aidan O'Connell? My answer after this ad break. My answer is Gardner Minshew. I am just simply saying that I am a believer that you would win more games with Gardner Minshew at quarterback than you would Aidan O'Connell. I can also sit up here and say there's a part of me that wonders if Aidan continues to get starts underneath his belt, could he potentially develop into a better quarterback than Gardner when he's 28 years old? My point is, though, if I'm talking about this year and this year only, the QB that I have more faith in to win more football games, I'm going to roll with Gardner Minshew and that mustache. Let's go to the next winner here for the Silver and Black, and that's at the wide receiver position. It is Tre Tucker. The reason why Tucker's a big-time winner, similar to some of the things that I said about Malcolm, it's also similar to Trey. If Tucker's out there on the field and he's next to Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and Michael Mayer, the number one player that people aren't going to be worried about is Tucker. And I do anticipate that you're going to see a lot more pre-snap motion. You're going to anticipate him being on the field a whole lot more. Also, the fact that the Raiders decided to move on from Hunter Renfrow, which is not really too much of a surprise to anybody, but the fact that they did finally do it puts Tucker in this position now to be that starting slot receiver. On top of that, Christian Wilkerson, I don't even know if he's a lock to make this team. DJ Turner, I don't even know if he's a lock to make this roster. So where it stands right now, there is a clear-cut top 3 wide receivers, and Tre Tucker makes that list. Let's go to the next name here. It's Thayer Munford at the right side of the offensive line, and Munford might play on the left side. He can play on the right side. He can play multiple position, offensive guard, offensive tackle. It just depends how the rest of this offensive line ends up situating itself out. But for the Raiders, when they decided to not bring back Jermaine Illuminor goes and he signs with the New York Giants on a 2-year, $14 million deal, which then opens up the possibility of Munford potentially being a starting offensive tackle in the NFL. When you're drafted in round 7, it's not too often that you do get an opportunity to start. And for Munford and everything that I hear, it does sound like that the Raiders are pretty high on the young man out of Ohio State. With not a lot of other positions, there not a lot of other depth at that spot. If the Raiders want to go in the draft, which I'm hoping that they do end up trying to find a starting right tackle in the draft, you could still kick Munford in, who has played guard, whether he can play left side, whether that can be on the right side. I am anticipating right now that the Raiders view Thayer Munford as being a potential starting option for the Silver and Black. Before I get into my final winner here on the show, to stay up to date on all the things going on, Raiders, free agency, draft, hit that subscribe button, news, breaking stories, we go live. Anytime the Raiders do something, I'm making a video around it. So if you want to know more about this team than all your buddies, subscribe, turn on those noties. And I got to give a shout out to the Noti Gang. If you don't know what the Noti Gang is, these are the people that are subscribed. They got the notifications turned on. And as soon as I drop a video, they take pride because they know, hey, when you drop a comment on one of my videos, believe it or not, it helps me out a lot. When you do it fast, it helps me out. So I know that not every single person can send in a super chat. I know that some people are like, Mitch, I am already subscribed. If you are already subscribed and you can't send in a super chat, or if you're just like, how can I support the show? Join the Noti Gang, comment on the video as soon as I drop it. It does help us out a lot. So Adrian, Steve, and Rob of Sin City, I salute you. Thanks for being a part of the Noti Gang. Let's go to the final name here. It is Zamir White. And Zamir White is a clear winner from free agency. Yes, the Raiders have added a little bit more running back competition in Alexander Mattison. But the reason why Zamir White is a winner, Josh Jacobs isn't a part of this backfield anymore. And he's going to get an opportunity to be the legit RB1 of this team. How good he finished last season, those final 4 games, he was very, very impressive. And now he's going to get that opportunity to be the main back. Now, Telesco's still going to incorporate multiple running back sets. They're still going to incorporate a bunch of different looks here. But when you consider the fact that Zamir's really only got to worry about Brittain Brown, Sincere McCormick, whose name I see right now I don't have on the running back depth chart, but then all you're competing is Zamir, Alexander Mattison. You're still going to get some third down running back work in there from Amir Abdullah on top of that. But for White entering his 3rd year in the NFL, he's finally getting an opportunity to be the man. I just really hope that he can stay healthy. I know he's had some ACL injuries in the past. So I want to say he's tore his ACL twice in his career, one time in high school, another time in college, but he's going to get his opportunity, and if he can play the way that he did at the back half of last season, there's going to be a lot of Raider fans chanting Zeus, and a lot of people saying, Josh Jacobs, who? Coming up next here on the show, it's the part that I hate doing, but sometimes, you got to do what you got to do, and it's the losers in free agency so far, which actually was a lot more difficult to make than the winners. Like, I could have probably made a whole nother list for more winners, but I decided to go 5 and 5. Before I get into those losers, though, one person who's a winner is Christian Wilkins, and it's got to feel unbelievable signing a 4-year, $110 million contract. And if anybody wants to pre-order their Christian Wilkins Raiders t-shirts, here is your opportunity to do it now, because I am telling you, they are going ASAP Rocky type of fast. Chatsports.com/Wilkins is going to be the link, which is available to you down in the comments and in the description of today's show. I want to say that they come in all shapes and sizes, though obviously there's certain sizes that have more than others. I will say that I know it says 00. Wilkins is number 94. Our sponsor here, they didn't want to put a number on it in case he decided not to go with 94, so this graphic was made before the official announcement of Wilkins rocking 94. So when you order it, it's not going to say 00. It'll say the actual number that Wilkins ends up picking, which is number 94. So if you want it, get it, because they are going to go quick, and then you're not going to be able to get one for a very long time. It's just how stocking works. Chatsports.com/Wilkins. Let's go to some losers now from free agency. Realistically, you could probably put the defensive tackle position in general up here, but I'm going to single out Byron Young at DT, and I don't really need to spell it out for you. This was a healthy scratch a bunch last season, was not really able to stay healthy on top of that. Then when you consider the fact that he was a third-round pick for our previous regime, this regime that we have with Telesco, with AP, have absolutely positively no ties to Byron Young, and if they want to cut the cord, they could potentially do it this offseason and not pay a lot of money. Another name, which I'm going to throw in here, is Matthew Butler, another defensive tackle. That was selected by Ziegler and Josh McDaniels, somebody who was on the practice squad a little bit, didn't make the 53-man roster last year, which if you watch the show, should not have surprised anybody. We were saying back in April that Neil Farrell Jr., Matthew Butler weren't going to be on the 53-man roster, and once you know it, it ends up happening. But, legitimately look at the Raiders' defensive tackle room. They had a priority, right? By you signing Wilkins to the contract that you did, by you going out and getting John Jenkins, by you bringing back Adam Butler, you made a decision to put in a lot of chips in one pile. What does that tell me? That you don't have a lot of confidence in Byron Young, Marquand McCall, Matthew Butler, Nesta Jade Silvera. Now, I will admit, the Raiders have more ties with Nesta Jade, and they also re-signed or signed Marquand McCall last year, which makes me believe out of all the names that you see up here on screen, Byron Young and Matthew Butler are the two biggest losers from the Raiders and free agency so far. But I do want to try to spin this in a little bit of a positive light because we've seen guys take that jump in year two. It happens all the time, and maybe now the fact that you're in that second year in a Patrick Graham system, you continue to get better. That's the hope, right? For Matthew Butler, it'll be his third. For Byron Young, it'll be his second year. Who do you have more confidence in, though, right? At this point, you're hoping that Byron and Matthew are your fourth rotational defensive tackle, and then maybe even your fifth, if depending on where Tyree Wilson ends up playing. Are you more confident than Byron Young, or are you more confident in Matthew Butler? For me personally, I'm more confident in Byron Young's ability, but I'm not confident in either of these guys. So I will type my BY, but I'd be lying to say that I can look you dead in the eyes and say that these names really excite me. Let's go to the next loser here on the Raiders board. It's Brittain Brown at the running back position, and the reason why Brown is a loser to me is because, yes, the Raiders decided to move on from Josh Jacobs. However, though, they brought back Ameer Abdullah. You sign Alexander Mattison. They're going to roll with Zamir White. And ultimately, I just don't think he's that good of a back. Somebody who also was a part of that old regime, somebody who's not going to get a lot of opportunity. You can move on from him rather easily, and it's not going to cost you a whole lot of money. So the fact that Brittain Brown has struggled as much as what he has to stay healthy, I don't see him making this roster. Therefore, it makes him a loser here in my book. So Zamir White, Alexander Mattison, Brittain Brown thought, you know what, maybe if we don't sign another running back, I got a shot. Unfortunately, that does not happen, which then brings me to my next loser here. And like I said, finding the losers was a lot more difficult just based off certain positions, but I'm going to go Sincere McCormick. And, for people that watch this show, I like Sincere. I don't like him nearly as much as what my man Graff does. But, if you were McCormick, you got to be sitting there going, all right, I might actually have a shot here to get on this roster. I might have a legitimate chance to prove myself, and then the Raiders go out and they sign Alexander Mattison. So that one's kind of got to be a little bit of a gut punch. And if the Raiders do end up drafting a running back, that makes this even more difficult. If you're McCormick, if you're Brittain Brown, you're probably sitting back going, I really, really hope that the Las Vegas Raiders don't take a back in the draft, because then I'm saying I got a shot, because you're going to keep Zamir, you're going to keep Alexander, you're going to keep Ameer Abdullah, and I would anticipate that you keep another running back on your 53-man, and then everybody else probably just goes on the practice squad. It could be between McCormick and Brittain Brown for that final spot. If they end up drafting a back, though, I don't know if either guy makes the roster. The final loser here in free agency for me is Cole Fotheringham, the tight end. He is the fourth-string tight end as it stands right now for the Silver and Black. And the reason why I'm going to list him as a loser is because with the signing of Harrison Bryant, I don't view Fotheringham as making this team. If I was Las Vegas, I'm keeping 3 tight ends. I'm keeping, obviously, Michael Mayer. I'm going to keep Harrison Bryant, and then you're going to keep one more spot. That's between Zach Gentry, Cole Fotheringham, and then John Schnenker, who was a UDFA from Auburn just a few years ago. So, to me, Gentry probably has the inside track. He's 6'8", so that does offer you at least a little bit of that red zone presence. Yes, you could cut him and save $1.1 million. The fact that the Raiders haven't done that yet, I just think that that's the room that they're the most confident in for the tight end position room. On top of that, if that's another position that they could absolutely target on day 3 in round 5, round 6 of the NFL draft, which adds even more competition to the mix there. So let's look at these Raiders winners and losers after free agency so far. There's definitely some names that I could have thrown in there. If you guys want to add a few more, please don't be shy. Make sure that you do so. Like if you want to give me a few more winners, go for it. If you want to give me a few more losers, hey, go for it on top of that. But to me, there was a lot more winners that I could have picked than losers overall. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, please don't be shy. Do it. Post it on IG. Post it on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. And this list is based on the biggest winners and losers for the Las Vegas Raiders after 1 week of free agency for the Silver and Black right now.